Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk, and you can see down there I've got the old ZX81 up and running. I've actually got it just running 3D Monster Maze there. This has been on now for about 2 or 3 hours, just basically just looping through on 3D Monster Maze. I just wanted to make sure it was dead stable as it is as a 16K machine before we go playing about with it. And finally, that 32K SRAM chip that I ordered arrived. But it got me thinking. I've got another ZX81. I've got a few of these, which I'd quite like to modify to 16K. But I don't, I want to keep it in its original case and everything. I just want 16K. So I was thinking I might use that for that. As we've not got the limitations of space and everything in this, because obviously it's cased up the way it is. I was wondering whether I continue actually playing about just using them cache RAM chips. It's something different into using one of them instead of one of these. So what I thought we'd do in this video is basically just see whether we can make this thing run at 32 as a 32K machine, but do it in a way where we're not going to be soldering to the actual ZX81 main board. We'll make basically what I'm hoping to do actually. That's my original, well not my original, that's the 16K RAM board, which was flaky, which was iffy. It's got that surface mount SRAM chip on it. And I was wondering whether I can perhaps take that off, put a socket to put the cache chip in there, and there's enough space on there for me to put 7400, which is what we need. I think we need a NOT gauge or a NAND gauge or something like that to get the second bank of 16K working. I know that plugs onto the main board and works. It's just that RAM chip there is flaky, so I'm wondering if we can possibly modify that to do the job. If not, then we'll perhaps make a new version of this. So that's what I think we'll do in this video, and see if we can get that working. And then I've actually got a little basic program there I'd like to try, which should give us it's basically a really simple memory test program, and it should tell you how much RAM's actually in the computer. I've been trying to find some 32K software to run on this, but there's very little was actually produced, because I mean most software for this ZX81 was either 1K, 2K if it was like the Sinclair Timex version, or 16K, because most people bought one of these. They bought a 16K RAM pack. In fact, when these were getting to the end of their lives, I think it was the cheapest computer you could buy. I think it was like 48 quid you could buy a ZX81 for, and they threw the 16K RAM pack in with it. So yeah, I'll get the camera set up so you're on the bench down here, and we'll have a play with that board at first, and then we will if that doesn't, yeah, we'll play with that board at first, this one here, and we can't make that work. We'll have a look at perhaps just making a new board and going that way. So back in a sec. Right, okay, I've got you zoomed in, and hopefully you can see this alright, but that's basically the original, well not the original board, that's the original board that I made. That would have actually probably worked. It was the simple fact that the SRAM chip that I had originally tried in there was faulty. I didn't have the Speedmaster that I've got now back when I built this, so I couldn't easily test SRAMs and stuff like that. It's a bit of a hodgepodge, to be honest, that one. Like I said, that was my first attempt at doing this, and there's rather a lot of wiring on here, and it's not the neatest of solutions, put it that way. Like I said, this was attempt number 2, which did kind of work, apart from, like I said, that SRAM there is flaky. I'm going to see if I can perhaps reclaim this and reuse this, because we've got a nice amount of strip board there to add another IC socket, which is what we will need to put the glue logic that we need in there. So let's have a go at this. What I'm going to try and do. In fact, I wonder if the easiest thing to do would be to try and get this off first. I'll add a bit of fresh flux here, just to help things. I'm wondering if it's going to be easier to get that off and then get them pins out one by one. Right, I was thinking at first about using a bit of solder wick and just wicking it away like that, but it might be easier if we actually get that off there first. Let's see how easy this is going to be. It's cleaning up just a sec. Oops. All you could see then was my arm, weren't it? Bit of fresh solder. There we go, let's have a go at this. Yeah, I think we'll probably get away with doing it. We might try getting this off first then. Because these are coming out quite nicely. Yeah, what I'll do, I'll just, I'm sure you don't want to see me desoldering every single one of them, but I'll just whip the desolder pump along there, get them off, and then get this board off and see what's what. So back in a sec. Well, unfortunately that didn't work. I've been fiddling about for 20 minutes or so. I managed to get a load of solder off it, but the pins there basically are a very close match with the holes, and it's just not releasing. And what I'm going to try, just as a quick last resort, I mean we don't care about that chip, it's just seeing if we can reuse that board, is I'm going to try some hot air. There we go, that's free. And we'll see if we can perhaps just lift, heat it up with this and lift it off with some hot air. See if that will help. So if it won't work and we can't get it off, it's not the end of the world. We'll just make a complete new board. Now that's coming up now. It's starting at least to lift a little bit, but we'll probably end up damaging the board we're trying to salvage, to be honest, doing this. We'll see. We'll see if we can do it. We'll try and not get that acid too hot. I don't know if this is going to work or not, to be fair. Let's try on that side again. We're having a bit of success on that side. So I'm not too bothered about the IC or even that adapter board, it's just this underneath board I'm trying to reuse. We'll let that cool down and hold it. We've got a few of them pins up now. So it is coming off a little bit. What I'll do is I'll keep on just try to warm it up and see if we can get that off like that, and see if we can possibly reuse this board. So I'll try getting it off. If we come back and I've got it off, all well and good. If not, I'll come back with a fresh piece of strip board and we can start again. So back in a sec. Okay, well, I finally managed to get it off, and unfortunately it's a bit of a bust. This isn't really going to work for me. Where the pin spacing is, basically there is no way for me to put the new socket. Obviously it's a slim inline socket like that we need, and it's just not going to line up and be able to be fitted in there neatly. At the most I might be able to salvage those pin headers there, because I'm running really short of those. And I've got a nice turn pin socket on the ZX81 that those pins go in really nicely. So I might be able to salvage them. If not, then I think I've probably just about got enough of that to do it again. So I'll try and pinch them off there, and we'll come back with a fresh piece of board and see if I can start putting this thing together. So back in a sec. Right, well, I managed to salvage those two little pin headers, and actually I can cut that off there. Easiest way of doing that's just use a pair of snips, and I should just be able to break that. Like that. That can go in the bin, and that can go back in my box of bits of prototyping board and stuff. And you need to pick something here. That's one that I can reuse. That actually, that'll do. I am getting a little bit short on things like this, but it's getting quite expensive to buy, so I just look out and see when I can pick it up cheap on eBay. I've got enough to keep me going for the time being anyway, so we'll use that to create this thing. I'll probably just get this out of the way for now. We might use this in the in a bit though. Clear some of the detritus off the desk as well, and basically this is what we're working off. So what we need to do, we're going to have to obviously break the I'm going to leave the board this big, and then once we've decided and built it all, we can always trim it down to the size we want to actually fit in the computer. So what we're going to need is we're going to need those. Well, we'll mount them. We really need them mounted on that side like that, don't we, and soldered through. We can get away with that. I have them soldered there, and that, I think that's about right. I'll have to get the spacings right, but just a case of planning as you go. Well, that's how I like to do it anyway. So that's going to be one that way. So yeah, we'll start at that. What I'm going to have to do is break the tracks in the middle, obviously there. Yeah, I'll break the tracks in the middle and then figure out how we're going to secure those in position. That's going to be a little bit tricky, but we'll figure that out. I think we'll figure something out how we can get those soldered down. How did I do it on the last one? In fact, the last one I had the RAM chip on the bottom. I wonder if we could do it that way again. I don't. Although there was a lot of wiring involved in that one. Of course, the most simple way of doing this would actually be to design a PCB and send off and have it made, and we could go all surface mount or however we want there. But I just kind of like doing it like this, to be honest. I just like, you know, this is kind of like 1980s, how you would have done it back then, and that's kind of my era. You know, for a computing thing, you know, I like 80s stuff. I like what you would have done, how you would have homebrewed things back then, as opposed to all the modern wonderful technology we have now. Anyway, I'm going to go away and just think about this for a little bit, and I'll come back as soon as I've actually got something to show you. So back in a sec. Right, okay, another slight change of plan again. I've decided I'm not going to use the headers exactly as they are like that. What I've done is I actually reused all the individual pins that I'd had that soldered down with, and I've made a little jig up just to hold them in place. And what the idea is, you can see I've already broken the tracks on here, down there, if you look. I just used a step drill like that and basically put that there, twisted it, and just broke the tracks. I mean, you can use a drill bit. There are special tools you can get for doing that, but I've always just used a drill bit. I found these twist drill bits because of the profile on the end there. You can make that out. Let me see if I can get you in shot there. It just does a really nice, neat job of breaking the tracks. So what I thought I'd do next, let's get this set up. We'll bring the helping hands in. This should make life a little bit easier, hopefully anyway. Reposition that. You're not going to be able to see this, are you? Because you're well out of shot there, so I'll get you up a bit and perhaps zoom you out a little bit. There we go, that's better, you can see what I'm doing there. Get that round there. Get that onto there. So we're just holding the board so it's easier for me to solder. Let me get it reasonably flat. Yeah, that's not bad there, that's quite good there. Right, now where's that jig? Excuse me. And what we'll do, we'll pop that on the top there and make sure we get all our holes lined up in the right places. It's not looking too bad on that side. That side's gone in lovely. This other side needs a little bit of persuasion to line up and go in, I think. Oop. Yeah, one side's going in really nicely and the other side's being a little bit more awkward, so let's try that again. I'll tell you what I'll do. I will get that in and then we'll come right back because I have a feeling that's going to be a little bit of a faff, so back in a sec. And of course I just realised I messed up straight away. If I put that on right now and I solder that into place, I'm going to really struggle to fit the other sockets, so we need to put those on first. So we'll put them on this way. We'll get the first one in position. That's well out of position. Let's move it one more that way. Yeah, that's going to work there. So we'll just bend a pin over just to hold it in position while we get it lined up. We'll bend that one over there. I'll bend that one over there. We'll get the next socket on. And it'll make life a lot easier if we put these on first and then we actually put the socket to mount it. So again, I'll just bend a couple of pins over just to hold it in position like that. And we can get them soldered into place. Where's my thinner solder? That's a little bit thick for what I'm doing. This should do. And really I could do with swapping my soldering iron tip over because that one is a little on the large side, although it might be better for what we're doing next. So let's persevere with it for now, and we might swap over to a smaller tip. Yeah, this tip's probably a bit big for this. Yeah, what I think I'll do, it is soldering, but it's a bit tricky with this huge this tip on here, so I'm going to swap over to my smaller tip, and then I can just get these soldered in and we can come back and then see if we can fit this. So I'll get that sorted and we'll be back in a sec. Right, okay, I've gone to a much smaller, finer tip there. and this makes life, and I've repositioned my board slightly just to make life a little bit easier, and now this is a lot easier to do, so I just need to go along and get this first socket soldered into place. There we go. We'll just go back over them ones I did before. I'm not 100% happy with them. There we are. Especially that one there. Right, that's okay now. Just go along this side and do that side, and then we'll come back and we'll have a look at putting the other pins in. So back in a sec. Right, okay, I've got that soldered and I'm quite pleased with that. So next thing, we need to take these, we need to take these pins and once again try and get these into all these holes lined up, and then we can solder this into place. Now it's usually easy enough to get one side lined up and in where you want them, and then you struggle with the you're going to struggle with the other side, but we'll persevere and we'll get it in. In fact, I'm in quite the right place there. No, I should have put this side in first, it would have made life a lot easier. And we've lost a pin. I tell you what, I'm going to pause the video again and I will come back after I've sworn and I've got this actually down on there and we can start soldering it into place. So back in a sec. Okay, that was a bit of a faff, but I finally managed to get that to sit down there. So the next thing I want to do, we'll get some flux. We'll get plenty of flux on there, like that. And basically want to solder those pins to the matrix board. So this is basically what I did on the other board that I showed you in the last video to get that 16K to work. We're basically doing the same thing again here. We're just going to leave a little bit of extra space so we can add the additional circuitry we need for the extra 16K. So it's just a case of going along now. Unfortunately, you can't. It is a bit tricky doing this. Because you tend to end up bridging between the traces, but we can sort that out when we've done it actually. Right, I will carry on. I will get this soldered up, and then we'll come back and I'll show you exactly how I've done it. So back in a sec. Right, okay. Well, I think I've got all those soldered in place. So hopefully, we pull this off. All them pins should stay behind. So not the neat. I've done it before and it's looked neater, but I'm not too disappointed with it. I think it should work. Yeah, they've all soldered in nicely. So we've got basically a set of pin headers soldered on the back of the board there, which will go straight into the socket actually on the ZX81 board. And that's not the best. That's not the best soldering I've ever done either. That pin, it must have moved very slightly, and it's very slightly raised up there, but it's not going to matter. It's still going to work absolutely fine. What we need to do now is basically put the other IC socket we need, which will be for a 7400, I believe. So I'll go and get a socket for that. We'll get that mounted on the board, and then we can start looking at wiring this thing up and getting it all to work. So I'll go and get another socket, and we'll get right back. Right, okay, I decided I'm just going to put the extra socket just at the end there, so I just need to solder that in place exactly like we've just done before. Let's use the helping hand, seeing we've got them here. It makes life a bit easier. So we just need to solder this in. I picked the wrong solder up here. This is a bit on the big side, but actually it's working alright. I'll carry on and use this. So I'll get this socket in. There we go. Right, so that's that one done as well. So basically what we've got now, this is the bare bones of it. Obviously we're going to cut this down to a better size when we've actually finished, but I'd rather leave it bigger like this at this point, because I've made that mistake in the past. And what I have realised is I've put those in the wrong way round. Not that it's going to matter, I've just got to remember we use that notch there because it's going to fit in the computer that way around, with the SRAM there, and then the 7400 there, which is, like I said, it's just doing that little bit of decoding for the extra 16K. Right, so what I will do now, we'll get this cleared up a little bit, and we'll start figuring out actually putting the using this here. We'll pull the SRAM chip back out of the ZX. We might as well use that one, because I'm going to make this and I'm going to use it with the pins bent up and soldered into place and then just plugged in the ZX. I'm not too worried about that. So I'll get a bit of a tidy up done on the bench here, and we'll come back and we'll start figuring out how we can turn that actually into that. Okay, another quite quick change of plan. I've actually taken some pins back out that I'd fitted before. So basically the pins that we've got bent up on that chip there, I've actually just removed so they're not going to connect with the ZX81 PCB, which will mean that I can just basically I can take all these wires off there, I can straighten the pins and just put that straight into the socket there, which is a bit of a better solution than the way I've got it there now. So I'll get all this tidied up, and then we'll start adding, well, I'll add the wires I need here for like plus 5 volts ground and things like that, and then we'll come back when we start actually having to do some of the more complicated things of wiring that chip up there. So in fact, what I think I'll do is I will get it to the point where we can test this as a 16K in the ZX81 again, and then we'll look at adding the extra bits we need to it, to that IC socket there with the 7400 to get the extra 32K, and a few other little bits that I've already thought of while I've been doing this. But it's actually getting quite late now, so I'm probably going to leave it till tomorrow when I'm feeling a little bit fresher. So I'll say back in a second. It'll be straight back for you now, but it might be a few hours for me until tomorrow. So back in a sec. Right, okay, I really am going to go to bed now because it's like 3 AM. But I've got basically address lines for A11, A12 and A13 put on there. I've got the VCC wires connected up there for to connect between the RAM IC and the 7400 there, and the grounds and everything. That's all done. So when we come back, like I said, when I'm feeling a little bit more refreshed, we will look at actually wiring that chip up, putting everything in, cutting this board down a little bit and giving it a try. So back when we do that. Okay, right, it's the following day. I'm actually feeling a little bit fresher, and let's get this thing finished. So what we're going to concentrate on now is basically, can you see that? Yeah. Basically doing this bit here. So that's basically we want 2 gates out of a 7404. We have the A15 line and we have the M1 line connected to the inputs on 2 of those gates. Then the output, I'm guessing they're using that next gate there as an inverter. So basically we take those, we put them through one gate, then through that, and then into A14 on the RAM chip there. I've already got A12 connected up, that's that brown wire there. So I need to run a wire from A14, which is the top pin there on with pin 1 on the RAM chip, to what will be pin 6, I think. Yeah, pin 6 on the 7400, which is the output of basically it's the output of one of the gates, which I'm going to make and use that. So I'll get that bit of wiring done, and we'll come back when I've got a little bit more connected up, and we'll carry on from there. Right, okay, and there we go. That's basically most of the wiring done. So I've got the 2 wires there. One of them goes to A15 and the other one goes to the M1 line. Actually, I don't think it matters really what we're doing, seeing we're using that that gate there, which way round we actually got them. It shouldn't matter, just providing one of them goes to A15 and the other one goes to the M1 line, because that combines them and puts them into A14 on the chip down there. And it's really basically, I've just used that side of the 7400, so you've got 2 gates. You've got a gate at the top there that outputs straight into, like I've got here, the 2 gates there, which is then using the next one as an inverter. That comes straight out of there, down and into A14 on the SRAM chip. So all that's done. Obviously these are our other address lines that we need to pick up. So that one is A12 there, then we've got A13 and A11 there. They're all ready to get connected back up. And I think the only thing I need to really do now is there is a modification for high-res graphics. Now I don't know a lot about this, but apparently what you have to do is you have to put 5 volts through a 10k resistor onto basically that pin there, which is pin 27 of the RAM IC there. Now I'm not 100% sure about that, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on, but I'm going to do it with a little jumper so I can enable and disable it. So I'll get the bits together I need to do that. We'll get that sorted, and then we might be able to put everything in this and just give it a quick test and see if it's actually going to work or not. And then we can, if it's all working, then we can look at cutting the board down and making it look a little bit neater, and then fitting it in the case. So I'll be right back. Right, I've got everything we need here, and this should be really easy to implement. So all we need to do, we've got 5 volts there. So, and we've got a space there where there's nothing running. So if we get this jumper, and we put that on that 5 volts there, and then up to that trace next to it, which isn't being used at the moment, we solder that in place. That gives us our 5 volts, and then we just need to put that resistor between the other side of the 5 volts and the trace that we need, which is literally the next one down there. Right, first things first, let's put all the components we need in place, and then we can just solder them. Because what we're looking at is literally the pin straight down from the 5 volts, so it's that one there. So, if I bend this, I think it's going to have to sit up like that, just for the sheer amount of space that we either don't have, but that won't matter. Put that in there, put that side in there like that, push him down. Yeah, that'll work nicely. We'll just spin this over and we can solder. Let me just pull them legs out so that resistor doesn't move too much. Okay. Flatten that down like that. Let's solder those parts in place. That's going to be a bit tricky. I've not left myself a lot of room to get in there. I can just get it, I think. I've kind of shot myself in the foot here for getting into solder this. There we go, got it. And then quick touch of solder there. Oops. There we go. And take them legs off. Like that. Okay, that should work. Oh, I've got to be careful of these. I keep forgetting. I've got basically sacrificial socket here, which I keep sticking over those pins because I don't want to bend them pins out of shape while I'm working on it. I do keep forgetting and forgetting to put it back on, but there we go. So the idea of that is that with that jumper off, high-res graphics is disabled, and you take your jumper and put your jumper on there like that, and that will enable it. I mean, if that's something that's going to be actually something useful that I need to enable and disable that, there's nothing stopping me just putting a wire, you know, 2 wires on there instead of a jumper, just a pin header up to one of the switches on the front of the actual computer, and then I can have it so I can disable and enable the high-res graphics with it all built up. But that'll is a handy way of doing it anyway. Like I say, it might be a case that you just want that enabled all the time, but I'm still not 100% sure on that. Right, so we're at the point now where I suppose we know that this RAM IC here works, so let's take all the bits and bobs off this, and we'll see if we can reuse this. We'll tidy the pins up and reuse this RAM IC. I should really have my anti-static on if I'm playing with this. Let's stick the wrist strap on. We will take these wires off that I've bodged onto this chip. Right, we'll tidy that chip up. We'll have to get some of that excess solder off some of them pins. Tidy my iron up a bit. There we go, that's not too bad. Right, okay, I can probably put them back in and it should be alright. So let's get that out of the socket. There we go. And because of the way we've done this, and we've actually removed the pins from the bottom, actually from there, we can put these pins back in and this should just fit straight in, and we've not got a modified IC. Let's roll them back, see if that'll work. Okay, straighten them a bit more, like that. Right, let's see if that will go in the. We'll see if that'll go in the socket. Let's get that detritus off my off where I'm working. Ah, there we go. That's gone in now. There we are, that's fit. Lovely. So all I need now is a 7400 to go in there. So if you just bear with me a second, folks, I will go and see if I can just locate a 7400. I know I've got some, and we can get on and we can perhaps give this thing a test. So back in a sec. Right, okay, I've had a rummage and I found a 74 LS00 there. So let's get that stuck in. That goes in. Unfortunately, I did make one little mess up. I put a 16 pin socket in there instead of a 14 pin socket, so we just have to admit the first two pins when we put the thing in, put the IC in. But it won't cause a problem. That it just means we've got two additional pins up there not doing anything. But basically that should be our 32K RAM board. So obviously, like I said, if this works, we can cut it down a fair bit there and tidy it all up. But we've got our wires coming off, and there's one last thing we need to do. We'll just set that to one side for now, and that is purely because of the reason that I've done it this way is because I haven't modified that ZX81 board really in any significant way at all. I want this so it's basically removable. So what I did, instead of actually modifying let's get this in. Instead of modifying the board and soldering to the board, if you look, I actually modified the CPU and put the pins that we need to connect to actually onto the CPU there. Now, what I didn't do at the time, because I wasn't initially thinking about going to the full 32K, is I omitted to put a pin so we can connect to the M1 line on the CPU. So that's what I'm just going to do now. We'll pop the CPU out, we'll locate the M1 line on there, and we'll just add a little pin actually to the CPU like I've done there. So then we can actually plug the board in and we can test everything and see whether everything is actually working as it should be. So we'll pop that CPU out of there. I'm wondering if I can just pop it out with these actually. If not, I'll have to go and hook out my my CPU puller. That's coming out. Just gently ease that out. There we go. And get that out of the way again. And you can see what I've done with the CPU there, where I've just added those four pins. Like I said, that's for address line A11, A12, A13 and A14 there, which is all we need to pick up off the CPU. The only other thing we need to do now is we need pin 27, which is this M1 line. So that is pin 20 there, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Pin 27 is right there. So what we need to do, we'll need some solder, we'll need some flux, we'll need a pin to put on there. I'll use what I've just used for the jumper actually, they're ideal. I think I've got some more of them in here, yeah. I've got a random assortment of IC sockets and various bits and bats here. Yeah, one of them will do. So we'll pull one of them out of there, like that. So that's our pin we're going to add on. And we just need to clean the chip up a little bit, because we do need a good contact here. Let me see if I can find something I can just quickly clean the chip up with. That's ideal, tiny little flat blades. So we've got pin 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, pin 27, that's the one we're interested in. So we'll give that just a little bit of a scrape. Like that. touch of flux to it. Tiny touch of flux like that, and then we can just tin that leg up. There we go. We'll do the same with the pin. That's really nice and shiny, so we should just be able to get that tin up. There we go, a little bit of solder on there. And we'll get hold of that with the tweezers. And then it's just a case of bringing the two in and just, oops. There we go. And that's it. So we've got an easy way now, a non-destructive way to solder onto the M1 line there, and we've already got our address lines. The simple reason I want to do it like this is Z8C CPUs. I've got, you know, dozens and dozens of them. ZX81 motherboards, spare ones. That's the only like spare uncased one that I wasn't too mithered about doing anything with, that I have really. Otherwise, it'd be a case of you're building one of these clone systems and doing it with something like that. But I did kind of want to, you know, use an original ZX81 board. Right, so that can go back in. Like that. And then I can't see. I've just realised one major issue that I'm going to have. I'm going to have to cut this board down before we go much further, for the simple fact. If I put it on that way, there's going to be a big flash and a bang. We might be alright actually. Have I done a boo-boo here? Have I done a big boo-boo here? I might have done a big boo-boo here. Just bear with me a second, folks. I'm going to have to cut this board down before we can even try this thing, because otherwise it's not actually going to fit in with the interface on that side. We've got plenty of room on that side, but we've not got enough room front to back. I'll have to take off the excess board there, and I might as well trim that down at the same time. So I'll do that off camera now, and then we'll come right back and we can actually see if this thing's going to work. So back in a sec. Right, okay, I managed to get it in. That was actually rather rather a hassle to get to line up with its pins, but it does at least fit. It was just big enough. I'm going to be able to trim a bit more off that side there, but I could obviously trim a bit off the back there, but it does basically fit. Right, so we can get this thing, basically we can connect this up now. So we connect one of the sides of that gate up to the M1 line, and we connect the other side up to address 14. Then we've got, what other ones do we need to connect up now? We've got address 13, sorry, which is address 13 will be the blue one, I think. Let's just check. Yeah, that's going to be address 13. That goes on next. Then we've got address 12, which is the brown one there. And then address 11 over like that. So technically that should be it. That should be everything connected up. So we've got the M1 line and we've got all the address lines going over actually straight onto the CPU like that. So let's see if it's going to power up. And then, like I said, we can type a little program in, and it will tell us whether actually it's going to it's working, what RAM we've got in it. Put that under there so you can see it. I'll get you out a little bit so you can actually see the screen, and then we can see whether it's going to work. So I'll just reset the camera up and we'll be right back. Right, we're all set up, so moment of truth, is it going to work? So we'll switch on, that's the screen on, switch on, and that's not looking happy. We're just getting, yeah, something not right there. Let's have a check round and let's see why it's not working. Move that out of the way and just see if there's anything obvious. Are we actually on the yeah, I think all the pins are connecting where they should be. It's looking that way. Check on that side there. Yeah, all the pins have gone into where they should have gone. So why you no work? Unless there's something wrong with that 7400 there, because I didn't actually test it. It's just one out of my box. Let's try. I wonder if we just pull that out and see if that makes any difference actually. Let's pop that. I can always go and get another one because I've got plenty of these. Or I should actually dig the Speedmaster out and just quickly test one, and then we know for a fact that it's a good one. In fact, that's what I'll do. I'll just go and get a good tested 7400, and then we know we're using the correct components. So back in it. Right, we're back, and we are still having issues. I've tried a couple of different 74LS00s. Unfortunately, my Speedmaster's playing up. I need to do something with the power supply on it because it keeps cutting out. So that's something for the repair pile. But you know, I've got a fair few there. I've gone through about half of them, and they're all giving basically the same result, which is, I'll get this round so you can actually look at the screen. And if I switch on, this is basically what we're getting. However, if I disconnect the M1 line and switch on, there we go. And I think that's booting up as a 16K ZX81 there, and it seems to be running fine. I mean, if we type you know, dang, I should have put print there, shouldn't I? Damn. But anyway, as you can see, you know, it's actually it does appear to be functioning. Hang on. You know, it's working. As soon as I connect the M1 line back up, plug that back into the CPU on the M1 line. We're back to it not working. And the thing is, if I disconnect what is it, A14, and we try it, it's just the same. It's something to do with the M1 line on the CPU. Now I'm wondering, have we got a fault with the CPU that's causing that, rather than an actual fault with my RAM board? So what I might do is I might go and grab a spare Z80 CPU, put the pins on it, and see if that makes any difference. It's odd that, so it works fine as soon as we disconnect the M1 line and switch on. Obviously it's going to take a little bit of time to come up because it's counting up the 16K rather than 1K, but it does seem as though we're actually running fine there. With in fact, there's a peak we can do here. Let's see if this is going to work. So if we type print, where's peak on this now? This might take me longer to do than anything else, actually, because I can't remember where everything is on these keyboards. Just bear with me a second, folks, and I'll put this little bit of basic in, and we'll come right back. Right, that took a bit of hassle to figure out how to do. Like I said, I'm not used to how you what key combinations you have to press to actually do it, but basically we've got print peak 16388 plus 256 plus peak 16389. Now hopefully this should give us a value back which will indicate whether what memory we've actually got in the computer. So we hit function new line. There we go. We've got 32768. Which should indicate we have indeed got 16K currently running in the computer. So I will have a rummage through my CPU, see if we can dig another Z80. I'm just wondering whether there's actually just something wrong with the M1 line on that Z80 CPU, because everything else seems to be checking out okay. It's still working fine as a 16K machine. It's simply just the fact that as soon as we connect the M1 line up, it won't work. Which means we can't use the other 16K. So let me have a rummage, and we'll be right back. Okay, folks, I have to admit I am absolutely stumped on this one. I've tried a different CPU. That's the one that was in there before. Just thinking whether there was something awry with the M1 line on that. I even tried before that. I tried lifting the M1 line, so it didn't actually go onto the ZX81's main board. All it did was go straight to the 7400 on there, so that's all it was doing, and exactly the same, it will not allow the computer to boot. As soon as you pull the wire off the M1 line, it'll boot as a 16K machine. And I've been through my little board there, making sure I haven't made any mistakes when I made that, and I can't find anything wrong at all. There is nothing I've done there really that isn't on there. I've gone so far as, let me just put this CPU away before I damage it, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with that CPU. Stick it in here for now. Right, so that's out of harm's way. I'll put my spare RAM. I've even been messing about. I even went back to 2K of RAM while I was testing CPUs, because I used this to actually make sure the CPU was okay. I've even tried different RAM in case there was a fault with like the upper 16K in one of these. I even repaired the power supply for the Speedmaster so I could actually test the SRAM chips and the 00s in the Speedmaster, so I know that the TTL logic, the 7400 is okay. I know that the SRAM's okay. I say I've tried a different CPU, which is one out of my spares, but I tried it on the unexpanded ZX81. It run absolutely fine. I connected it up with all the pin headers and everything. I tried it at 16K, ran absolutely fine. As soon as I connect the M1 line up, it's back to not working again. If I power it up now, as you can see, I've got it all connected up, all the wires going from the RAM expansion board over onto the CPU. I go power up. That's all we get. I pull the wire off the M1 line, switch on, takes a second to boot, and there we go, it's booted up as a 16K ZX81 again. I've even gone to the point now, as I pulled the little my little pocket oscilloscope out, and I just can't figure out what the problem is here. Let me get this set up so you can actually see what's going on. I'll have to get you down a little bit, I think. We switch on. Right, I'll switch the computer on. And the computer's just fired up normally. Now if I probe on the M1 line coming off the CPU, we've got activity there, like you'd expect. You can see that there. And if I probe on the address line, which is address line A15, yeah, it will be address line A15 coming off the CPU there, which is going to be the yellow wire. You can see we've got activity there. Now what should happen is when the M1 line is connected, I'll switch the computer off, I'll reconnect the M1 line to the other side of that 7400, switch on, and again it's not working now. So if we probe the output from that 7400, we've just got a high there. I'll switch off, switch on. You see we get activity and then it just goes high. If I unplug the M1 line again and we scope it, we get normal activity and the computer's booted up and is working, but it's only working as a 16K machine. So what on earth is going on? Like I said, I've tried 4 or 5 different 74LS00s, all ones that have tested absolutely fine in the Speedmaster. But try as I might, I just can't get this to work. Now, is it this SRAM that I'm using? I do still have unopened. I'm not sure what I've done with it now. Somewhere around here, I do have that other. Here it is. That other SRAM. I suppose I could try doing it the way I've seen other people doing it and just put that on the board, fold the legs out. But that means I've got to use that 7400, you know, squash bug style on the board as well. And that's why the whole reason behind this, I was trying to avoid doing that. That's why I made this whole board in the first place. So I think I'm going to actually leave the video there now, and I'm going to pose the question: has anyone got any suggestions? What's happening here? Like I said, it will work. The board is working absolutely fine as a 16K board. It's only when I connect up the M1 line there to the 7400, and I've got it all connected up exactly as it is here. Yeah, there's other people who've used this circuit on YouTube. They've followed it a bit more exactly because they've gone to exactly the same points on the board as this does, as where I've used that little board, and then I've gone and picked my address lines and my M1 line up straight off the CPU, as where they've picked them up off places on the motherboard. But I can't see that being an issue, because I've even gone between the places they've shown on the main board and the CPU, and I've got, you know, an ohm, point something of an ohm there. You know, there's nothing in line there that could be causing an issue, so I can't see why that's the way I've done it here is causing the problem. But it's certainly getting a bit of a head scratcher for me. So could it be the fact that I just can't do it with one of these SRAM chips? Well, sorry, one of these cache RAM chips, and I will have to bite the bullet and use one of them, and then buy another one of these for my other ZX81 that I want to upgrade to 16K. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now, because I'm sure this video has already dragged on quite long enough. I really need to time my desk out now, because I'll zoom you out and you can see, oops, I've zoomed in yet again. You can see the utter chaos that's currently happening on my workbench. So I'll stop this now and get this video all edited up together and uploaded. And you lot can watch this and have a ponder, and I'm sure there's something really blatant that I've missed or I'm doing wrong, and someone will say, ah, you stupid idiot, you've done such a thing, you need to do such a thing. But I'll leave that over to you, and like I say, I'm open to suggestions for this. If not, I'm just going to have to settle with it. It's going to be a 16K ZX81. But I did kind of really want that extra 16K. Not so much for playing games or anything on this, only for the fact that I would rather like having a play about with ZX81 fourth. Probably putting the fourth ROM, making a new ROM for this thing with a little ROM switcher, so I can switch between standard ZX81 basic and ZX81 fourth, and it'd just be handy to have that extra RAM, I think, if I was playing about with something like that. Anyway, so I'm going to leave it there now. I hope you enjoyed this little update on the project. I'm sorry to say that, you know, it hasn't gone quite as I was planning, but I'm reasonably pleased with how the boards actually come out. I do need to do a little bit of trimming on it and what have you, but that can be done in the future. So I'll say thanks for watching, and goodbye. Okay guys, you thought the video had finished. Well, no, it's not. I was going back through just editing the video up, and I watched it back just about to put it on YouTube, and I suddenly realised the blatant error that I'm sure every single one of you has been watching the video so far has been screaming at me. And that's... I made a boo-boo. Now where's my piece of paper gone now? I've just lost my piece of paper. Oh, it doesn't matter anyway. Basically, what I've done when I was doing the Z80 CPU, I've been connecting what should have been address line A15 to address line A14, and that's why it wasn't booting. We had a memory conflict, and that's why when I pulled the wire off the M1 line, it would boot. I've just changed that now. All I did was on the Z80 CPU, where I'd soldered the little pin to address line A14, I just desoldered that, moved it across to address line A15, put it all back together, and if you look, if I switch on, it boots up. You know, obviously you can't see it from there, but the cursor's up there. The problem is, it's still only showing 16K. Now this video is already quite long. I've just, like I say, I've already edited this up and it was over an hour long. It's like an hour and 7 minutes long. But if you'll just bear with me, I'm just going to make it a little bit longer, because I want to look into this, and I still want to try and see if you can figure out what the problem is here. Now we've solved that issue. Like I said, I obviously made an error there. I've corrected that. Like I said, it's booting now. I've got this little memory test program that I showed you before. Let me put my glasses on so I can see. I don't know if you can make that out on the camera there. Now this is nothing that I've wrote, actually this is something that someone pointed out to me many years ago on the Vintage Radio forum. I've just copied it out there. Now that should show you basically whatever memories in the computer. And I did try it before and I pulled that out and I put the 2K SRAM in there, run that program, and it told me I had a 2K ZX81. I'll run it for you now. I'll get you zoomed in actually a little bit so you can see what's happening on the screen. So I'll just pause and sort the camera out. Back in a sec. Okay, what I've done, rather than spending probably the 15 or 20 minutes it took me to actually type that in, because I'm still not familiar with typing with all the keys on the ZX81. I've not used it for some time now. I did it and I've bashed it down to tape, so all we need to do is hit load, shift, double quotes, enter, and then press play on the tape. For such a little program, this does actually take a surprisingly long amount of time to load, but this would have been the authentic experience back in the day, I suppose. Should nearly be finished, I think. There we go. We can stop that. We hit function new line. There's our program there. We'll hit run. It tells us memory size 16. I say if I put the 2K EEPROM in and take the memory board out, it will show us that it's a 2K ZX81. So for some reason the other 16K just isn't working. What I will show you, I've been scoping round. I showed you just before what we was getting on the oscilloscope when we was probing them to address lines. Now that's changed now. I will in fact I might as well show you right here and now. We'll get the keyboard out of the way. We'll get the ZD just turned round so you can see what I'm doing. I'll get you down a little bit like that. That's a nice shot, isn't it? There we go. We'll get the little now this, I think my battery's nearly flat in this, but hopefully it'll have enough charge left in it for me to show you what I want to show you. I'll get you down so you can actually see the oscilloscope. Okay, now if I probe what is the M1 line on that 7400, you see we have activity there, like we did last time. Now if I probe address line A15, again we've got a nice little amount of activity there. And the computer is running and booting, and there's no problem, as where last time, like I said, as soon as you had them two connected, the computer just would not do anything. If we go over to the next pin, which will be the combination of those two signals, this is what we get. Now if we go to address line A14, which is basically going all the way through that 7400, so if I actually go on to address line A14 here now, obviously it is, because it's the inverse of that, but that is all we get going on to address A14. Now, is that correct? Because we've got, I don't know, this is what's stumping me, because we're obviously not getting the upper 16K actually showing up, but we've obviously got some activity there, but I don't know whether that's right. To me, that when we've got a signal, two signals, that actually that's the M1 signal, that's the A15 signal, and then those two signals combined and inverted, and we get that. That doesn't look right to me. Now, I've tried 2 or 3 good tested 74 LS00s in there, and it's exactly the same result. So this is where I'm going to leave you with it. We've only had another perhaps 5 or 6 minutes to this video, so it's not too bad. But I really wanted to just to show you that that's where we're up to now. Like I said, we're really close. It can't be that far off working. Like I said, it was a silly mistake of mine just putting that pin in, connecting to address A14 instead of address A15 on the CPU. We've addressed that now. Like I say, it's booting now with everything connected up, but we still only seem to be getting 16K. Anyway, I'm going to really leave it there for now. I hope some people can comment on this video and perhaps push me in the right direction. So once again, I will say thanks for watching and goodbye.